Welcome, classes in session. Get in here, Superwoman Persona 101. We're talking about generational trauma and how it is passed through your family. Get in here. You want to hear about this. This is a game changer. And yes, I'm speaking from personal experience and scholarly research and all that good stuff. Okay. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm just at home watching football. That's what I do. I don't know. It's a little lackluster today. My two favorite teams are playing, but it's early in the game, so I have some time to sit back to teach a little bit. And I want to talk about intergenerational trauma or just generational trauma. And I just want you to know that this topic right here is a sensitive one for a lot of folks, but that's because a lot of folks are traumatized. They're not really talking about it. But from a person who has experienced this from my personal life, as well as looking at what the research says, as well as really tapping into the resources, the media resources all around me. 1 + 1 = 2, y'all. We can act like all day that we are not traumatized by the life that we've been living. We can act all day that we want to help someone else because we don't want them to go through what we've gone through. We want to sort of be a pillar for them, right? But here's the way generational trauma works is that you can't really help someone when you don't have the tools also. And I think it's hard for people to contend with the fact that I don't know. I was raised a certain kind of way. And it reveals the things that that you weren't really privy to. And I get that. Like that is hard for anyone to contend with when you start dealing with the world. But the impact of that is that, as people are going through the world, like we hold such an onus on everyone's behavior. And, a lot of times it's acting out or acting in. And all we manage to do is just find something negative to say about them or find something not so great. So even though I knew I was going to talk about this topic at some point today, here's where I'm talking about it. It's a woman who was she experienced a situation on a plane when she was traveling, and an older woman became unconscious, and they were an hour away from the stop. And you can imagine this is like a heightened experience for everyone. Now, this woman is a Black woman, probably in her early 30s. And I want to also note that she's married to a white older man. That is important in this conversation, because as she was just talking about how hurt she was about seeing the lack of humanity in folks who wanted to get off the plane, make it to their other flights or whatever, and just not having a concern for like this woman may lose her life. When she said that, I completely was empathetic to the trauma that couple was experienced, but just everyone on that flight and what that can do for them going forward. And so I wrote her back, and because she said, when was this have we gone to a place where lack of humanity is just, this is where we are? And I was just like, this is where we've been, and I wrote and I said, as long as whiteness is the thing that people want to ascribe to, then we will have this behavior. I said, whiteness needs to end because it does not help anyone. And so real strong on that, because when we talk about generational trauma, you need to first move away from personally thinking that like it's you, And so when she was saying that the lady was acting up on the flight, it was about her acting up. But where did she learn this behavior? Like where did she learn that like I can be on a plane, act a whole fool out here, and I'm going to get my way? I know I saw it, the insurrection earlier this year. So let's not act like folks don't act out and get their way. She also made it a point to say that this woman was a Black woman, right? Remember, she's a Black woman also. And so she was just like, unfortunately, she was a Black woman. And I said, what does it matter? She's been living on American soil for 400 years, right? And the systemics of how this world has been going. She's doing the best that she can, and her best is trash, but she's doing the best that she can. And rather, your whole post was about this woman and her behavior as opposed to a system of that has been around for 400 years. And so I didn't like that. And I just was like, I got to say something, because I also don't like her being a Black woman, even though she didn't say that the woman was Black when she was doing her Facebook post. She's married to a white man. She had a lot of white friends, and there was a lot of white likes under her comments. And the reality is whiteness, I never said white people. I said whiteness. And so, and this is what I wrote her. I said, where do you think she learned this acting out behavior, especially living on American soil? Also, whiteness is a behavior, not a color. I wasn't actually talking about white people specifically, but the impact of white privilege has affected the entire globe. Next steps would be to call a thing. That's the truth that she don't want to live in. Okay. The truth is the truth. And is that it's not this woman's behavior. It's a behavior that has been accepted. And that's what I said to her. I said, whiteness is a privilege, and a lot of folks from America have seen the worst of it. No one seems to know better these days. Lack of humanity equals white privilege being accepted for 400 years and blaming it on folks who did not shape this country. This is a case of don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay. And so I'd be remiss if I just did not let this Black woman know that, like, this ain't the energy you want to use. Right. Like, no judgment to who you married to and how your life shapes out. But come on, like, don't do that to this Black woman when you know that she's seen a whole bunch of white folks, whiteness played out and being accepted. It's time to change the system. And so now we're talking about generational system. I want to move on to that. And that was just an experience that I had. When we're talking about generational systems, that's a minute example of how it gets passed down for 400 years. But really, when we really get to talking about generational trauma, it has to do with epigenetics. That's the research of a generational trauma being passed down. And so it's the study of the effects that the environment and the behavior have on the genes. And so what we can infer is that how you were raised. So it says intergenerational trauma is the theory that trauma that is experienced by one person in a family, for example, a parent, a grandparent, can be passed down to future generations because of the way that trauma epigenetically alters the genes. And this is just family trauma when you're inside a family, but look at something as, clear cut as the way she was acting on the plane. I mean, it's passed down from seeing it done so much for 400 years. And so it's just what I want to say about trauma and how I've learned about it, especially with my personal trauma, is that, let's take a family and let's say there's like 4 sisters. Or let's say there's 3 sisters and one of the sisters had a child. So let's just go through that. So, and let's just start with your mom or even grandma. So grandma was raped. Okay. Grandma was sexually abused. Grandma couldn't even pass and walk freely in her life. Like, that was just not what she could do. So, grandma walked around and was like, when I had kids, I'm not going to do them like this. Like, I'm not going to treat them like this at all. So grandma has a kid, and then grandma has them go to school, because she's like, well, education is the way. Now, keep in mind, grandma might want to do that, but grandma didn't also know anything about emotional support. So when she had her daughter, she didn't, that wasn't a factor, right? Because you can't know what you don't know. But she knew that, from the outside, I don't like this treatment, so let me just change this. She wasn't even trying to monitor or manage her emotions. That wasn't an option for her. So grandma goes have kid goes to school, but still receives nothing different in terms of emotional support. Remember, grandma was also raped. So grandma also carries trauma inside of her that she's never been able to express. And so therefore, grandma also carries a large fear with whatever she allows her daughter to do, because the fear is that my daughter's going to be raped. So even though her daughter's never been raped, she's going to act as if and treat her as if she was a rape victim. Because grandma's a rape victim, so grandma only knows how to act like a rape victim, especially if she has not gotten the help she needs to try another way to manage her emotions differently. So Daughter Ray gets raised. She operates and walks around the world as if she is a raped woman when she's not. Although she's getting educated, she has no emotional regularity. So that's like what woman like that is in your life right now? Like, and then remember, Grandma had another daughter, and they didn't get along because this daughter didn't want to go to school. So the very thing that Grandma, the only thing she knew to change is like, let me go and get them educated. But this other one doesn't go to school. She actually gets raped too. And then she has a kid. And so, this situation is even worse because she loses custody of her kid. She has to be humiliated around her friends and family about her not being worthy to take care of her child. And this shows in how her relationships are and all of this and that. And so even though Grandma was raped, like, she's going to treat her daughter like she is the worst of the worst because she sees her daughter in her. She sees the trauma. She sees how when you don't take care of it, you go into this place of feeling bad for yourself. You're a hoe. You don't take care of yourself. No one loves you or like you. But really, Grandma's saying that about herself. Grandma feels that about herself. She hasn't had a space to say that and to feel free to say that. Grandma was probably scared, right? Because she was probably hanging amongst the very people who were raping her and had no support even when she tried to reach out. So her daughter, who doesn't receive the same thing, but she's going to make that daughter feel bad because she's going to tell her whole life she had an option. Meanwhile, you still treat both women as if they're rape victims, and one actually is. They both get treated like that. Only the one who's in college now lean more towards you. So now you guys have isolated the other daughter. So now, not only we got pregnancy, we got rape, we got no education, now isolation. Don't act like y'all don't know somebody in your family like this. Don't act like you don't know this is some version of you. Okay? It's a certain version of me for sure. And so she has a child. And then, like I said, she has a child and she's just trying to raise her child. But really, she lost custody of her child. So she don't even have her child no more. So, she grew up. She didn't grow up in the family. So now, even though this mother who was raped and didn't have a good life, daughter was adopted by a family who was amazing. So now we got two kids. Now we got the kid who is trying to do right, but it's hard because she comes from a raped mother, a raped grandmother, a raped mother. And even though she hasn't been, she still carries around that fear. She can never feel safe, ever. What also she's going to deal with? She's going to deal with emotional dysregulation, sleep disturbances, substance use, dissociation. She might even harm herself, right? Because you know what she's doing? She's doing what her mother didn't do yet. She didn't rip the Band-Aid open. She didn't just get it all out. So it trickles back down to that daughter. But then here's what happens to the daughter. When she makes a mistake, I mean a small one, like acting out on a plane, because she never had a space. She doesn't know how to manage her emotions. She doesn't know how to articulate her emotions. But, she's good. Outwardly, she's good. And then you make a whole post about this woman who is doing the best that she can with what she has. That's how I feel. My life. I don't know a large part about my grandma. I do know some trauma about my mom, very little trauma about my sister. I also have 5 sisters, so there's a whole bunch of people that have went through stuff before me. But what I can tell you about trauma is that in all of those instances, as it was trickled down to the next woman, they were dedicated to making sure that the life of the other child was better. Even giving her up or losing her and having to get adopted, it's in an effort to give her better. But what happens in generational trauma is the last person who's in that cycle, the last person is the one who gets it the most. They're the one who beaten down the most. For a lot of them, they haven't had a lot of the experiences, but the impact they carry, the trauma they carry because of the people who carried it before them who didn't deal with it. That's how it gets passed down. My mom can be raped and act completely fine, but I come out and the impact of her being raped is all over me. Or maybe she turns out to be narcissistic and the impact is that I can't manage my emotions. I don't have really good relationships in my life. I'm lost. I'm frustrated. And then you're estranged from your family because you speak up about it and no one's there to support you. Yeah, that's me. I've been estranged. This is year 2. So I'm not just always speaking about stuff. And not only am I bringing the research, I'm bringing my personal experience and the gift of time to give myself time to know that although I am one of the last people in that generational cycle, that the impact has caused so much chronic health pain, just mental health, CPTSD, patriarchal stress disorder, and so much more. It is so much bigger than what we think when we think about trauma. And what I really did all of this for is because I know at best a lot of women out here operate in the I want to help, I want to serve. And one of the gifts that I received during my therapy is that, although that's a great gift, you don't want it to be in trauma response. And a lot of us are being raised in trauma response. And it's not serving us. And we're continually being broken. And we're continually manifesting and bringing in relationships that don't serve us. And it's hard for us to get out of our own way because we don't know what the other side looks like. That was me. And I know I had a family where, they would say, if you don't have me, you don't have anything. That's what they used to say to me all the time. But I was also one of those women who were going to college and having different experiences and curating my own experiences. So I was seeing where I shined, but what I needed was support. And just being talented lended itself to other folks who just opened me up to another way. And for a lot of people, they don't choose that. They can go to college and everything and never lose the mentality. They can literally go to another country and never lose the mentality because they haven't been able to just share and tell their story. That's one of the most freeing things when you're in intergenerational trauma, is freeing yourself through the gift of story. And that's what I have created and what I've built with ending superwoman persona, because a large part of that is generational trauma. And I know that a lot of you are going to sit here and maybe think that that's not you. It's not me. It's not for me to say that it's you, and it's not for me to put my experiences that I've had on you. But what I will tell you is that I take a great deal in doing this research. I take a great deal in trying to understand women and how we show up. I take a great deal in using that to help honor the space that we're in currently. And when I challenge you to try another way is to, don't hate the player, hate the game of intergenerational trauma. Hate the game. And so when she was talking about that woman on the plane, it ain't cute to call her out because she's black. It's the game that she's been a part of that she had nothing to do with. She wouldn't have chose that if she knew better. But tell me where this world shows us that there is better, especially after January 6th and the insurrection. You tell me. what I see is a strong need for us to get back to ourselves. And in doing that, it's really just self-caring and putting yourself in high regard, and be willing to try another way and to look at the research and the resources. And so I'm going to just call it out. I am doing a masterclass on November 17th. You want to be in it. It's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's just my honor to really come in and show you guys how to help you in Superwoman persona and get back to you so that it's not impacting your health, your overall quality of life. In this masterclass, we're going to learn why your belief systems are keeping you from making money and living a life of freedom. What does it actually take to end Superwoman persona? Right? I just talked a little bit about the intergenerational stuff, but it's a whole bunch. But it's a journey that you have to first decide to start, that you have to first decide to get out of your own way. The other thing is a behind the scenes look at the emotional transformation that happens while in progress. I'm in progress, but I've been in it for a few years. I believe we're always in progress. And so I would love to share the emotional transformation of myself and of other clients that I've worked with, to let you know that even though it's hard, you can walk through uncomfortability. You can get uncomfortably comfortable. There's a community of women here that want to see you, value you, and hear you for all the things that are inside your head. You know, this is a space where women are curious. And when you're curious, it gets you very open and out of your own way to explore and to unlock dimensions of self-love, right? Getting back to you, finding out what that is. The last thing you're going to learn is the life you can create, the life you can expect to create once you get out of your own way. So, again, I'm estranged, year 2, and I'll let you know that once I made the choice, and it wasn't easy, but I do have a lot of resources. So, from my clergy to my therapist, to my physical therapist, my acupuncturist, my chiropractor, I can go down the list of so many people who have been in my life, my life coaches, my mentors, many psychotherapists, not just one, that I can tell you that the life that I have created for myself is one where I do feel free. I feel like I'm now in a space where I can dream and envision a life that I want for myself, where that was just not present before amongst all of the mess. And even though I'm still moving through, because we are always journeying, I have a better concept of how to move through uncomfortability. I don't act out in the same way as I used to. I'm getting so much better at it. But overall, my quality of health has improved. Overall, my quality of life has improved. I've made most money I've ever made in my life and continue to do that. And I also get to work and walk in my purpose. So, so many things can happen once you get out of your own way. And for me, and I'll leave you with this and a resource for you. But God told me, He said, what are you willing to lose that I'm not going to give you on the other side? Right? Of breaking away those chains, of changing those thoughts and those beliefs around what you think you need to be and operate in this world. And for me, it was family. I was afraid to lose my family. But what God told me in this whole thing is that you're not going to lose them. And what I can tell you, being in this and still estranged, I wake up every day thinking about those nieces and nephews that I wanted to do this for. That family was specifically nieces and nephews. I remember them every time I do and get up on this screen and I open up the computer to work with a client or to send out a letter to do a brand partnership. I'm always thinking about those nieces and nephews. But what I have gained is that I now can just think about a full life for myself, right? Family has been extended for me, and I am just forever blessed. So if you want that kind of life, if you want to know that that is a possibility for you, like personal and professional satisfaction, I won't tell you that it'll happen overnight, but I can tell you that once you decide, nothing in your life stays the same. And the best part about it is that it all ends with community, and you now have a community where you can share and tell your story. And to me, that is the healing that really takes you over and transform your life. I'm going to leave you with a resource. I'm just going to tell you like it is. Iyanla Van Zandt. Iyanla fixed my life. Go ahead and look at those episodes. I'm still shocked, and I was one of those people at the amount of people who have not watched her show, especially Black folk, but we need to be watching it, because if you look at it, all Iyanla challenges people to do is to get their truth out in a safe space. And for a lot of people, they need mediation. I know for me, I wanted mediation, but then I was actually through the recommendation of my pastor and my therapist to go no contact. And if anyone is watching this and want to have conversations about that, generational trauma, breaking those chains, going no contact, let's talk. I speak from experience, but because I'm not operating in trauma response, I make sure I also get the research for you as well to build upon what I'm saying, as well as many clients that I talk to share the same experiences, maybe not the same experience, but in the category of that experience. Anyway, we want to see you on November 17th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope I see you. If I did not see you during this time, I hope to see you soon, and that you choose to end the superwoman persona. I hope you found this helpful. If so, please share it so that we can help another woman out. But this was really important for me to talk about generational trauma. It was really important for me to let you guys know that I know from experience what this looks like, the impact on my life, the estrangement, the no contact, and all that stuff on the inside. But again, so many people want to save people. So many women want to save the next woman. But a lot of people can't save people what they don't know. So my hope is that you choose to try another way, and know that your past has nothing to do with your future. And as long as you walk this earth, you have a purpose. And if you deal with me, I am only going to remind you of that you are worthy, and get you back to you. Absolutely. As soon as I end this, there's a replay. I would love if you take a look, because it will bless you. And certainly if it's not you, bless the life of another woman out here. So thank you so much. I appreciate everyone who came in to join. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Save yourself. That's how you save her. You guys have a really amazing Sunday. I will. Back to football.